You are listening to the Movie Clubhouse Podcast. Tune in multiple times a week for brand new reviews. Hello, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Movie Clubhouse Podcast. The perfect place to be if you love movies and TV. Now, today we have a very interesting review outlined for you. It is nothing else than, how do you pronounce this? Maestro? It's Netflix's Maestro, in directing by Bradley Cooper. We have seen Netflix's latest movie, which is now streaming. It had premiered on December 20th, and we are now about to give you our concise review. But first, if there are anything you want to discuss with us here at the Movie Clubhouse Podcast, feel free to reach out to us at the email which is in the show notes and video description, or reach out to us at any of our socials. You can find us on Threads, Instagram, and X, and also YouTube now. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's review. As we said, we have literally just finished watching Maestro. And we can say that this movie actually surprised us quite a bit. It watched better than expected. It isn't really our type of film, so we are not any expert on judging this movie. But Maestro premiered, as we said, on December 20th on Netflix. I think it had a select theater release also in some theaters for it being able to get some awards later on, award nominations. This movie is directed by Bradley Cooper, and it's basically the story about Leonard Bernstein and his wife Felicia. That is the basic story. The movie overall stars, as we said, Bradley Cooper as Leonard Bernstein, and Carey Mulligan as Felicia, and Matt Boomer as David Oppenheim. Greg Hildreth is playing Isaac. Brian Klugman is playing Aaron. And Nick Blamire is playing Adolph Green. Michael Urie is playing Jerry Robbins. And Maya Hawke is also in this film playing one of the daughters. I think she was named as much as Jamie. She's playing Jamie. And they have 3 children. Leonard Bernstein and his wife Felicia, that we also get to see in this movie. And this movie is really a lot about his family dynamics. It's basically a family drama, if you ask us. The writers for this movie is Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer. And you can say that you don't almost recognize, you can't, or you can, but it's a little bit hard to recognize Bradley Cooper in his role, because I think they wear prosthetics a lot in this movie. I'm not sure if it's VFX or prosthetics. I think it's prosthetics. I don't think they changed out the actors. I think it's Bradley Cooper who plays Leonard Bernstein in this whole movie. But I think there were prosthetics later on when he gets older, Leonard Bernstein. And those prosthetics, if they are real, look really, really good. And as you said, this is basically a family drama. When it comes to the sets, an overall set where this movie mostly take part, it's in this big house, or it's not mostly, it's in this big house and in concert halls, basically. It's not the most interesting sets in the world or environments, but it still works for this kind of story, because it's a lot about music and composing and not directing. Like when you have a stick and like show it around. What is it called? Not directing. What a composer can do, but also do in front of an orchestra. That kind of thing. What now that is called. And they also switched a lot from black and white to color in this film. They are starting to do that a lot more and in the later days. And it kind of showcased how the characters get older, what is present day and what is long past when he was younger, Leonard Bernstein. I think it worked for this movie. It was pretty clear what they wanted to do. And as I said, the use of prosthetics were also really, really phenomenal. If it was prosthetics, I can't assure you it was that, but I think it was. It was really cool to see them age and get older and older, both Leonard Bernstein and his wife Felicia, and how their dynamics evolved and how their relation evolved. Because Leonard Bernstein shifted partners, or not shifted partners. He went from some male partners to some female partners throughout this story. So it's interesting to see the dynamics and how this story evolved. But the performances are overall really realistic and feel very neutral and really authentic. The dialogue and writing also felt really, really good. It's probably one of the strongest aspects of this film, really good writing. But one thing I want to notice, however, is that I have never seen so many cigars being smoked in a film. They are literally smoking cigars in every scene. If you had a cigar counter, it would probably be up towards 100 cigars. I don't know how many cigars one can smoke in a lifetime, but this has to be some kind of record for Leonard Bernstein. And overall, I think it's a complex love story that's taking place. I would say it's a complex love story in a majestic package. I think that describes this story pretty darn great. It's also a very powerful score involved in this movie. This type of music is not really my kind of music, but for what I can judge this music, I think it's a really powerful score. The story is also really intense at many times. As we said, there's some really intense character dynamics, and this story it's not the most intense story in the world, but it has its intense moments. It's overall not the most exciting film. It's not the most exciting film I have seen, I can say that. But it's still, you feel honored to be able to watch and be a part of Leonard Bernstein and his wife Felicia's life. So you feel pretty honored to get to be a part of that and see how their relationship evolved. I also say that the children in the story, the 3 children that Leonard Bernstein have, were great additional characters. You could really see their relationship to their parents and how they impacted their parents in different kind of senses, in different stages of their life. So that was really interesting to see. And as we said, Leonard switched kind of between some male and female partners, like HBTQ, in that kind of sense. So it was also interesting to see those dynamics and how they impacted each of his partners and his wife, especially. I would say this movie had a little bit kind of a sad ending. It was pretty sad towards the end. It was really emotional, and that really got through the screen, and it really felt it in your heart. So that was really, really solid as well. And as I said, you feel honored to get to observe their lives and what happened to them and how they live their life, basically. You feel really honored to get to be a part of that. Some scenes in the film were a bit hard to understand why they were shown. It was not always completely clear to why they are showing these specific moments. For example, there was a moment towards the end when Leonard Bernstein was a lot older, when he was teaching some students. I wasn't sure why they were showing that moment towards the end, but it's nothing major. The ending, however, was a bit abrupt. I felt like I didn't get enough closure, really. It ended a bit abruptly. I know there is kind of a closure in that kind of sense, but the story ended a little bit too fast, I would say. Overall, the length of the film was maybe a tiny bit too long. It came just over 2 hours. It could have maybe gotten out at 1:50, 1:55. But I think it was fine still. The length was fine, a little bit too long, but overall fine. I would say that the second half of the film is pretty much more interesting rather than the first 30 to 20 minutes of the film. I loved the second half more, I would put it like that. There was more interesting stuff happening, and it was more interesting to see the later part of his Leonard Bernstein's life, basically. So overall, when rating this film, it's a little bit hard because it's not really my type of film that I usually watch. But I would give it a rating of 4 out of 5 clubhouses or stars. It gets this rating because there are some phenomenal acting involved, a strong story, and some really great writing and dialogue. The only cons really being the cigars, I would say. The smoking of too many cigars. It felt a little bit annoying towards the end, how many cigars they could smoke. And this is not really my type of film, really, so I can't say if it's a perfect 5 out of 5 film, but it gets pretty close. I could maybe stretch it to 4.5 out of 5, but I will officially give it a score 4 out of 5 clubhouses. So because this is not really my type of film, I can't really discuss it that well. So pardon me if the discussion was a little bit flawed, but I overall enjoyed more than I expected to Maestro. It was a really interesting movie and really fun to see Leonard Bernstein's life. So there you have it, our concise review for Maestro. Maestro is now streaming on Netflix. It premiered on December 20th. So you are free to go watch it. And please do, if you want to form your own opinion about the movie. And we would be so happy to hear from you about what you thought about Maestro and what your review would be. So feel absolutely free to reach out to us at any of our socials or at the mail that's in the video description and the show notes. And we also need to remind you to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any of our newer episodes, because we are dropping episodes multiple times a week by now. Almost, not every day, but almost every day, a little bit here and there. And it's now Christmas, only 2 days to Christmas, sorry. It's 2 days to Christmas here in Sweden. And we are not stopping because it's Christmas. We are pumping out reviews like never before. Maybe we'll take a small Christmas break, but reviews will still come out pretty much as normal. And we will also want you to, if you want to, you could please leave a review on the podcast, because that helps us even more. It helps us tremendously to rank higher and higher on every podcast list and get more listeners to hear our beautiful sounding reviews. So that would be much appreciated. But that, I think, was all for our review of Maestro. I have been your host truly, Eddie. This has been the Movie Clubhouse Podcast. Until we see you guys next time, have a great time watching.